Uh, Welcome. Uh, in this video, I will answer some questions from a research paper, Deep Learning for Multiple Object Tracking. It's a survey paper. I'm just reading and reviewing, so just recording it. So it's just deep learning, deep neural networks or artificial neural networks, how that are being utilized for multiple object tracking. The object tracking, you can see that aeroplane tracking or pedestrian tracking, car tracking. It might also mean the tracking in images, in recorded images. That can be one thing, or probably the uh, radar images, recorded radar images, tracking, identifying objects, detection, and tracking. Tracking means the finding the path of the objects. Radar, it can be online. I think the tracking can be online, like just on real time, you try to identify objects and then uh, find their path they are following. That's real time online tracking. And offline, I think recorded videos, recorded radar images, you can analyze those for tracking. Yeah, offline tracking for sure. There will be applications for that. Okay, let's start. I can answer some of the questions or concerns from the survey paper. I think there are different researches that are done for multiple object tracking. So I think one of the things, I think what are the different methods or algorithms that this survey paper has studied. In general, it studied those papers or those research work that have achieved a high performance in public benchmark testing. I think testing for multiple object tracking or single object tracking. For the most part, multiple object, that's what the paper is about, but it might mention some of the single tracking algorithms as well, right? And it's for the deep learning algorithms. I think there will be other algorithms in AI data science areas like machine learning approaches or reinforcement learning approaches. Okay, natural language processing, I think it probably is not important in this context, but there might have applications in self-driving cars or anything. I'm not going there. So yeah, deep neural network or deep learning, that is the approach that are discussed. I think those approaches are surveyed here. So is deep learning effective for multiple objects tracking? Okay. Yes, in general, as research found, deep learning is effective for multiple objects tracking. Okay, what are some other traditional approaches for object tracking? I think one thing is Kalman filter, extended Kalman filter. I think there are some variations of Kalman filter. So yeah, I think sometimes Bayesian approaches are also used. Bayesian prediction are used, estimation. So why deep neural network is found to be effective in multi-object tracking? Okay, according to this paper, deep neural network, it can address some challenges as found in multiple object tracking. However, this paper will also say at one point that I think deep neural network still it needs more work for the for tracking in complex scenarios or complex environment. Okay. Anyway, some of the challenges in multi-object tracking that deep neural network can address are frequent frequent occlusions. I think it just means as overlapping objects, confusing areas, objects are close, and one object is hidden by another one. And confusing appearance, I think if you're trying to identify object, then appearance, or especially if you're trying to identify people, appearance can be important, or what type of object it is. And then uh, all the detection and finding the tracks, yeah, confusing appearance in these cases. Deep neural network can help. I think the way it can help, I think it will learn all the features of those individual objects or the different types of objects, and it can do a better job in matching those appearance and I think tracing back to the what objects do they belong. Yeah, in and out objects, I think the tracking area objects are coming in and going out. So those scenarios DNN can handle. Lack of enough labeled data. I think labeled data, when you have the data that has some meaning attached to it so that you can identify, you can make use in your algorithm. If you don't have enough labeled data, DNN can work. I think it might be using some sort of feature learning, classification, clustering, those kind of things. It will happen. It will happen through the different layers it goes through. Okay. So what are the different types of multi-object tracking? So what are the different types of multi-object tracking? I think it's based on trajectory generation, the path, offline, online, and near online. Offline data is already collected, and then you find the paths of different objects. Online, you do it in real time. Near online, it's not online, but it's kind of online. I think online, it will be just on the instant collect data, detect, track, those kind of things. Near online, it will be collecting data for some period, and then it will be doing the tracking and detection of those things. So yeah, it will be window by window, those kind of things. Batch mode, little bit you can say. How does offline tracking work? Offline tracking, I think it's more falls on the graph mining problems or graph problems. So yeah, I think depending on the object detections and data, it tries to create some sort of graphs and partitions, and then try to create some subgraphs, connected graphs for the tracks and all those things. It happens. I think whatever. I think let's see. Collects overall detections in an entire sequence beforehand. Yeah, it will be collecting all the data before it starts tracking and detection. So it will treat multiple object tracking problem as a partitions of the detection set. It will try to partitions those detected data based on the object type, detection, and trajectory. So partition those detection data set. And it will work on while it is creating those partitions, it will be using some posterior probability of the partitions. I think how it is dividing, it will be using some posterior calculation in terms of which directions goes into where, which data goes into which partition. So it will be using some posterior probability and all those things. I'm not sure if there is any use of the Bayesian, highly likely. Yeah, Bayesian, it's also about posterior probability detection kind of things. So how exactly Bayesian can be used, I have to take a look into it. Yeah, Bayesian, for sure, it can work on the stored data. I think probably learning, training, and then applying and predicting. Yeah, it's possible for sure. Through assumptions and constraints in different levels. Yeah, it will be using posterior probability calculations, partitionings, and based on the different ways. It will try to make some assumptions, and using some constraints, it will also try to partition those things. Yeah, it might depend for the particular applications, just the subject matter knowledge. It will use the subject matter knowledge to create some sort of assumptions and to create all those partitions. So yeah, and eventually after those partitions and all those things, it will be creating, I think it eventually comes to a graph problem. Okay, even in creating those partitions, okay, creating those partitions, those, if I want to consider this as subgraphs and creating those graphs, it might go into there as well. What are some graph approaches used for offline object tracking? I think it is asking for the different graph mining approaches or graph algorithms that you can use for offline object tracking. Minimum cost network flow, K shortest path, and subgraph decomposition based on multi-cut algorithm or multi-click algorithm. Subgraph decomposition based on multi-cut or multi-click algorithm. I think if you browse through training.sitestree.com or sitestree.com, if you search for graph mining or graph, multi-click, multi-cut, you'll get some information. Yeah, for sure you can search on Google. How do these algorithms differ? I think it means these different graph algorithms, as I mentioned now, how do they differ in terms of object tracking from the offline data? Okay, it is about how to do the partitioning, or how those posterior probability are being used in partitioning. So different sorts of formulations, assumptions, constraints, and different levels that will help. I think that's how those algorithms will differ from each other and will achieve different result. What happens in online tracking? Online tracking, I think it's asking for how the online tracking algorithm goes, steps. So tracking algorithm, it will be receiving current image data from the video or from radar or from camera. So it will receive current image data, and then, okay, let's see. It might work based on the sensor data, or it can, if you have the true target data, I think let's say it will be getting some sort of data, whether it's a, in general, it's better to consider it's a sensor data, because when you are actually tracking in real time or in real life, you will not have the true target data, right? So assume that you are doing some sort of measurements, or even if it is camera. Okay, I think from the camera image, you have to identify the exact path and all those things. So I will not say that you have the exact true target, true positions of those actual targets. So yeah, you have some sort of measurements. Those are not perfect. Those are not actual trajectory, actual path data. So you get some data, some measurement data, and then you will decide. Yeah, one thing can be object detection, whether the object is there or it's fault stack, or if you want to identify exactly what object is this, so you have to identify which object is this. Okay, that's the object detection part. In terms of online tracking, it probably just identify, okay, objects are there irrespective of what are they, and they are moving in different directions and following different paths, and then you identify which path belongs to which objects. And even object detection, you can just say, okay, these are the paths irrespective of the object. I think something is moving along this path, something is moving along this path, and the objects can overlap, but that's that you can omit. I think in some algorithms, in some ways, your focus can be just, okay, identify the path, following path. I think when object swaps, that can be tricky. Anyway, so what happens in online tracking? You have the measurements, then you will decide which tracks the direction should be associated to, or whether the detections belongs to new tracks. Okay, new detections are coming. Will you associate to the any of the previous track, or you will just create a new track, new path for these things? So how can Bayesian interference be used for online tracking? Bayesian interference be used for online tracking. So we can see online tracking problem as an state estimation problem. State estimation of joint distribution. In that way, Bayesian interference can help in the state estimation and can help with the tracking. What is Bayesian interference? Bayesian interference, yeah, predicting based on past, predicting the future, and as the new data comes, and with the new observant, new data, it will be adjusting your prior beliefs, and it will be updating your posterior predictions. Okay, so what is Bayesian interference? How to update one's beliefs based on observing data, and uses the Bayesian theory to update predict. So you can see some sort of simulation with the data and parameters and how Bayesian interference work. It's seeing-theory.brown.edu. CEESEEing-theory.brown.edu/Bayesian interference/index.html. Bayesian interference, that can be B, can be capital. It's highly unlikely. I think B is small. I think seeing-theory.brown.edu/Bayesian-theory index.html. What are probable data transition distribution assumptions about the target? What are probable data transition distribution assumptions about the targets? It's not about Bayesian, it just in general when you are tracking. So yeah, the data are coming. You might use some sort of assumption how those data are distributed. It might depend on the application, sometimes based on the applications or the objects or area that you are tracking. You can assume some sort of distribution of the incoming data, and then you can work on it. And sometimes you might try to identify the distribution dynamically. That becomes more complex, but if you can do it successfully with minimal cost, yeah, that can be good. But however, if you know that for this application area, 99% cases, just showing just adding a percentage, yeah, then trying to calculate all those things can take extra cost. However, you can try to verify it. You can verify the assumptions, not continuously, probably periodically, or yeah, just time to time at different intervals, just to confirm, okay, you're following it, or yeah, or probably, okay, I'm just making it up. If you can try to use that, just to identify the noise and discard the noise that's not following the original distribution, or probably the noise is making is a different distribution. You can try to understand that as well. Anyway, we're just making things up. Okay, so probable distribution, Gaussian distribution for transition, Gaussian mixture for density, Gaussian mixture for density. The Gaussian mixture, it means there's multiple different Gaussian distributed data. They are overlap and they are creating a mixed Gaussian. I think if you can partition the data into multiple groups. Each of them will be following a Gaussian distribution. And one another assumption is it can be the non-Gaussian distribution. Okay, what are the related filters used to estimate an update for the above cases? Related filters used to estimate an update for the above cases. I think Uh, what it is saying is that, so we just know that the data, from the data you are trying to track objects, find path of the objects. So yeah, the distributions that we are using, if we assume, okay, let's say this is the Gaussian distribution, what kind of filter we will use for tracking? So it's a joint probability data association filter. If we assume the data is Gaussian distribution, then we can use a joint probability data association filter for the trajectory. The new data, how we will be associating this data to a previous track. So joint probability data association filter, Gaussian mixture. If we assume the data is distributed using Gaussian mixture, then we will be using probability hypothesis density filter. Probability hypothesis density filter. In non-Gaussian, if we assume the data is distributed non-Gaussian, in that case, we will be using particle filter methods, one sort of gating techniques, or some sort of chance constraints, or simulation-based historical. Yeah, let's see. In my note, I have the particle filter method. So particle filter method, how does it work? It considers the exclusion between objects and update the discriminative features. So consider exclusion between objects and update the discriminative features. Okay, how some machine learning algorithms can be used for the update process ever. So how some machine learning algorithms can be used for the update process. State update can be approximated as matching between tracks and detections. State update can be approximated as matching between tracks and detections. Different costs for matching are designed using appearance feature of tracklets learned by random forest based on Markov decision process. So machine learning algorithm, they can update the state based on approximate matching between tracking and detection. So machine learning algorithm will help in updating states, and that will use approximate matching between tracks and detection, and then just association data association. And I think one of the approach, it uses the appearance feature matching, and those appearance features can be learned using random forests or based on Markov decision process. Okay, I think this will depend on the application. It will depend on the application for sure. Yeah, appearance feature, person identification, object detection, or those type of traffic tracking, it will be there. And I think if I don't consider appearance feature, I think I can just in general feature. In that case, you can use machine learning algorithm to understand features or find different features, and I can use those features to associate detections to tracks and use that for state updating. And then you can do those tracking and updating, related tracking and updating. I think deep learning, so far I saw that I can do this. Okay, so how does near optimal, not near optimal, it's near online method work? How does near online method for object tracking work? Near online, it works on the batch mode, right? So looks forward for several frames. It's not just frame by frame. It just take data in real time and detect and track, wait, collect several frames of data, and then do the statistical. looks forward for several frames, then make decisions for state update. State update, you can say I think it's updating the tracks, adding more data to the corresponding track, or create new tracks and mark them as tentative, confirm, terminated, deleted, tracks to remove. Okay, I'm going a little far than what it says here. So yeah, looks forward for several frames and then make decisions for a state update. Decision-making approach for state update, accumulated likelihood, energy minimization, re-ranking results by historical tracks. So some of the algorithms, decision-making approaches that are used in near online method of tracking. Accumulated likelihood, energy minimization, re-ranking results by historical tracks. Okay, possible applications of tracking. I think it's possible applications of tracking. I'll just make some notes on how tracking is used, how and where, not the possible applications. Okay. So in the radar applications, radar-based detection, airplane tracking, and all those things. Okay, I think cloud detection, cloud weather, the radar is for sure used there. Radar-based. Okay, cyclone, I think satellite. Yeah, satellite, you can say that is one sort of radar. And you can get a ground-based radar. Satellite can work in the same way. So yeah, for weather imaging, ground object tracking, or sea object tracking, the ship tracking. Yeah, the military application, I don't want to go there. A stage for behavioral analysis in surveillance systems in early time. Yeah, surveillance sensors, people behavior analysis, or crowd movement analysis, or behavior of single object. Yeah, I hope that your office does not do it, your behavior analysis using some surveillance system, whether legal or not. Human motion capture and crowd behavior analysis system, human motion capture and crowd behavior analysis system. Okay, I think in protests and all those things, there might have an application. Probably these are used, like the Hong Kong protest or all the protests going on. There might have some surveillance systems to capture the human motion, behavior, analysis, those kind of things, crowd movement. Okay. Yeah, and the tracing of COVID-19, how it is spreading. Anyway, individual tracking is employed to estimate human pose and find anomaly behavior. Individual tracking is employed to estimate human pose and find anomaly behavior. For surveillance systems, human and vehicle tracking must be considered for complex scenario analysis. For surveillance system, human and vehicle tracking must be considered for complex scenario analysis. So in tracking algorithms, single object tracking is investigated more than the multi-object tracking way. In possible application areas, some of the sentences I might have exactly told from the research paper. Yeah, just like for surveillance system, human and vehicle tracking must be considered for complex scenario analysis. I believe this is the exact sentence used in the research paper. So what are some research papers that provide survey on tracking? I think I probably should not say because I don't have the title written exactly. So not much that I can say here. Okay, I think what I can say, the surveys on tracking, what the survey paper did. I think the different aspects of the surveys that are done. That can be, I can say, what are the tracking aspects, multi-object tracking aspects that different survey paper studied. I think categorizing the task and just for one aspect, one survey paper has explored on one particular aspect of tracking. So some survey papers are surveyed the tracking systems and experiments, tracking systems and tracking experiments. So overall tracking system, it might mean the architecture of our overall system. It's not about the particular algorithm. Yeah, those are studied in survey papers. Some survey papers only, okay, tried to establish the benchmarks and compared the different results. Okay, I think we need to check. Yeah, some survey papers are just summarize the deep learning approaches for multi-object tracking, just like this survey paper that we are dealing with here. So what are the primary challenge in multi-object tracking? I think multi-object tracking, online multi-object tracking on the real time, finding a detection and associating with a previous track, that is for sure a challenge. And for associating, learning robust association metric, what measures to use for the perfect association, that is definitely a challenge. And when to create new tracks, whether to associate it with the previous track or create a new tracks, that is a challenge. Just finding some algorithms, approaches, hypothesis when to create a new track. Just like M out of N algorithm or quality based assumptions to create new tracks or not. Quality, okay. I think a decision tree approach might be there if associating to a previous track or which track or new track. Does it improve anything? Does it improve any of the information gain? Random forest decision tree, those might have applications. Okay, we are talking about the challenges, we are not talking about the solutions, right? So yeah, going to create a new tracks, that is a new challenge by distinguishing true detection results from false positive ones. False positive ones, I think you are telling that, okay, you are marking a false alarm to be a true detection. And that is one of the challenge. I think you are associating a false alarm to a real track or false alarm to a new track. So yeah, let's see. What exact sentence here is when to create new tracks, by distinguishing the true detection results from false positive ones. When to create new tracks by distinguishing the true detection results from false positive ones. When to terminate the lost tracks. When to terminate the lost tracks. That is a challenge. I think termination, the track is not there, the object is not there, so you have to terminate it. What are the primary challenges for offline multi-object tracking? Offline multi-object tracking, I think how to partition, how to create those graphs and networks. And one another thing that is the research paper is telling how to optimize the global labeling problem of the networks and graphs. After creating graphs, networks, subgraphs, how to globally labeling those networks and graphs. Okay, I didn't read specifically on it, but it looks like those networks or graphs or subgraphs, you might want to say, okay, these graphs or these subgraphs belong to the same trajectory or same path, same object, those kind of things, labeling kind of things, or these don't belong to any track. Yeah, as I told, I didn't read any specific examples on it. How can deep learning help with the online multi-object tracking? I think we told so far, learning the features, that is one thing, and utilizing those in tracking, or probably in the architecture itself, not on the learning side, but after the data is coming, let's see. One thing is deep learning can learn features that can be used for proper tracking. Another thing is deep learning uh, is not learning the features or identifying features on those things. Okay, data is fed and deep learning is embedded into the system in the classification and task or tracking task. Anyway, if you don't learn the features, deep learning probably, I think deep learning is one of the primary aspect is about learning those features, but it might just mean that you are not trying to identify as application specific features in the to start with for the tracking purpose. It might still be doing when trying to tracking and identifying those things. Uh, yeah, it might still be doing some sort of feature learning and classifications and all those things. So it will be doing it there. It probably will not try to, I think in some ways, it will not try to identify the application specific feature first and then do something. Anyway, let's see what the research paper is telling. How can deep learning help with the online multi-object tracking? Deep learning can be specifically designed for the target application, such as find a specific feature that can be learned very well using deep learning, and that can directly help in object detection and tracking. Okay, that's what the research paper is saying. I try to add something highly likely, but still uh, subject to verification. Give some examples on specifically designed deep learning algorithms for object detection and tracking. Specifically designed deep learning algorithms for object detection and tracking. Let's say one thing is called deep sort and another is labeled as CDA-DDAL. So it learns the appearance features from person re-identification task to associate with detection. So it learns uh, appearance features because the application is person re-identification. Okay, identify person, re-identify the person, and assign it to the previously identified same person and create the track. So yeah, learning the appearance features. It is specifically designed object detection and tracking approach, deep sort and CDA-DDL. RAN and AMIR. RAN, let's say regressive autocorrecting neural networks. Okay, I'll find out and I'll say it. RAN, AMIR. I think A appears stands for appearance. Anyway, I'll go there. So RAN and AMIR, AMIR predicts motion and appearance features. So previously deep sort and other was only appearance feature. It is trying to learn appearance and also the motion, and it uses auto regression. So RAN, yeah, auto regression and matching classification using long short-term memory networks. LSTM, one kind of deep learning neural network. So it uses LSTM and motion and appearance features are used and by auto regression and matching classification. Let's see if I try to see what RAN and AMIR stands for. Okay, ran recurrent autoregressive network. Recurrent autoregressive network. So it learns motions and appearance features. And another thing was AMIR. Let's see what does AMIR stand for. Okay, it stands for appearance, motion, and interaction. Appearance, motion, and interaction. Okay, it identifies motion and appearance. I think I also told CDADDAL. CDADDAL. It was for the appearance. Yeah, I think DeepSort and CDADDL. It was for only the appearance, learning the appearance for personality identification and detection and tracking, right? So CDADDL. What does it mean? Confidence-based data association. DA for data association, C for confidence-based. And DDAL, discriminative deep appearance learning. Discriminating deep appearance learning. So AL is for appearance learning and DD, discriminating deep. So it tries to discriminate in some ways and then using deep network, identify the appearance, learn appearance, and then uses it, right? Okay. So yeah, DeepSort and CDA-DDL, they use appearance feature, RAN and AMIR, they use motion and appearance feature. STEM-MOT. STEM-MOT, okay, what it uses spatial and temporal attention map. Spatial and temporal attention map to handle the partial occlusion problem in tracking. So STEM is for spatial, T for temporal, A for attention, M for M. STEM-MOT applies spatial and temporal attention map to handle the partial occlusion problem. A partial occlusion, partial overlap problems in object detection, and it uses a recurrent neural network, RNN. So another one, RNN LSTM, another word, deep learning word that uses RNN LSTM. I think it uses end-to-end deep neural network architecture to learn the association between tracks and detections. One another work, RNN LSTM, it uses end-to-end. It's not just at the beginning. Yes, end-to-end deep neural network. Because sometimes deep neural network, it can be used in the beginning for some things, then probably the traditional algorithms or something, not deep neural network algorithms can be used. Anyway, RNN LSTM, it is using end-to-end deep neural network to learn the association between tracks and detections. Statement update, initialization, and termination of tracks like particle filters, as in APHWDPL. Okay, I think there are some other approaches that they use. I think statement update, initialization, and termination of tracks like particle filter. Okay, particle filter is used in non-Gaussian model. Yeah, APHWDPL. I can see what does that mean. I think HW is for the author. AP, it might be appearance feature. DPL, deep learning. Okay, let me see, deep probability or something. Okay. So APH, APHWDPL. AP is for appearance model. HW, it's just the author's name. DPL, deep learning. Yeah, just appearance model. So they are using LSTM RNN. Okay, the STEM-MOT that we just told that it applies spatial and temporal attention map. One another thing it does, it employs dense searching strategies. Dense searching strategies for tracking, dense search strategies. Okay, I think that there are some heuristic search algorithms that are used for tracking. I think genetic algorithm, that is also heuristic search. Genetic algorithm. Anyway, I think STEMMOT, it uses dense searching strategies. No specific mention that I can see here. Okay. Okay, I think multiple hypothesis track. There are two multiple hypothesis tracker algorithms that also uses uh, appearance features, and those are based on MHT framework. I think deep learning approach using MHT, and it also applies appearance features. We also use CNN and bilinear LSTM network for those object detection. I think it's kind of multiple different things, right? Combining MHT in deep learning using CNN, convolutional neural network, and VLSTM, bilinear LSTM network. And it uses appearance feature for this object tracking. Anyway, so yeah, these are all about specifically designed deep learning algorithms for object detection and tracking. Just to summary, deep sort, CDA, DDAL, appearance, RAN and AMIR, motion and appearance, STEMMOT, temporal attention map, and for partial occlusion problem, LSTM, RNN, APHWDL. Okay, association tracking anyway. STEMMOT also uses dense searching methodologies and dense searching strategies, and some MHT, CNN, and BLSTM based deep learning algorithms like MHT-DAM, MHT-DAM, MHT-BLSTM. Anyway, give some examples of offline MOT research. Offline multi-object tracking research, some examples on that. Okay, one work is Siamese CNN and CNN TCM. You can see that they are using convolutional neural network for offline multi-object tracking. So yeah, I think offline is all about partitioning and graphing, subgraphing, those kind of things, posterior probability for partitioning. So CMS, CNN, and CNN TCM, what did they do? So they are trying to detection pairwise similarity. You are detecting objects. I think you are reading all those detections and try to identify pairwise similarity from the different detections, and based on this, you are just identifying creating those tracks. So CMS, CNN, and CNN TCM, they try to learn the detection to detection pairwise similarity between short tracks. Okay, detection to detection, also short tracks. How similar are those? These sequential features are strength in GCRA. Anyway, I missed one thing. Okay, so one aspect of offline multi-object tracking research is, I think, finding the pairwise similarity, right? So yeah, we saw that I think one is doing the learning the pairwise similarity, and another one is improving the accuracy of those pairwise similarity. So to obtain the more accurate pairwise similarity, additional information are identified or used. Additional information, what can be an additional information? Temporal sequential order. Okay, so Quad CNN, another work, what it does, it tries to use additional information like temporal sequential order to find out more accurate similarity metrics to be used in pairwise similarity, detection to detection, and between short tracks to improve the offline tracking performance. So this sequential features are strength in GCRA. Okay, this temporal sequential order, you are using this information. So yeah, how this information is being used, that are being improved in another word called GCRA. So some other research that used algorithms, the network optimization algorithm. I think it's just a graph network optimization algorithm, just such as multi-cut flow. Okay, no, I think what they're doing, we saw that some algorithms as mean cost flow network or multi-cut flow network, those algorithms can be used for offline partitioning or offline tracking things. Now, some other deep learning approaches studied how those algorithms can be further improved by learning deep flow features or some sort of feature learning that is used in those algorithms and to improve the partitioning and tracking accuracy. Okay, and this deep network, another word that has okay, another graph mining or graph partitioning, graph tracking algorithm, algorithm named network flow, or it can be just a general concept in partitioning for graphing. I think that's that network flow and partitioning and tracking that can be improved and optimized globally using an end-to-end learning, deep learning network called deep network. That's another word. Okay. Okay, here it just according to that research paper that I'm presenting here. So how does the different tracking tasks can be classified? How does the different tracking tasks can be classified? How different ways? I think it's actually is kind of told before, like one aspect can be just the feature learning of the environment, of the object, on those kind of things. Some work that will focus on learning features to be used for tracking. It's not about the actual tracking, it is about learning features and that use that for tracking. And that another part that can be deep learning based or that can be something else. Okay, so that is one thing. And another aspect of improving using deep learning in the actual tracking task. It's not about learning the features. Okay, some sort of feature learning, weighting and decaying, all those things will be happening there. So that's a different thing. That's it's not about the learning specific feature for specific applications and using it. It's about in the core classification tracking algorithm, deep learning is used. Some work that focus on the how to use deep learning end to end, first to last, learning, tracking, classifications, and all those things. How does deep learning approach can be used into in and can improve the accuracy of the tracking. Anyway, so work that focuses on learning features to be used for tracking, work that focuses on the design of core deep network for better tracking. So second approach, work that focuses on the design of core deep network, for better tracking. So it might even be the case, it's not about just it's about improving the design of the core network for better tracking. Output multiple classification scores, okay, and another category that focuses on end-to-end design architecture of the deep neural network. End-to-end learning might use multiple network as one network. If one network is not sufficient, assume Markov property anyway. So description and enhancement, the first one, deep network embedding, the second one, and end-to-end deep network construction, there's the third one. Okay, I actually have something more, but I can keep it for next video. Okay. Okay, as I told before, I think in one case, the researcher has also mentioned that deep learning might face challenge. It is telling complex scenario, tracking algorithms under complex conditions. Deep learning might not work well there, and there are potential for future work. I think as of when the research paper is written, you can check the year. Anyway, to address those challenges, the solution approach is also mentioned in the paper. So you can, I think it will be near the end of the research paper. Anyway, I want to stop here. I might record another one